Alright, so I guess I'm going to be doing this solo for the first couple of minutes, but Snoopy should be joining me at some time during the cast. Once again, guys, this is going to be Complexity taking on Evil Geniuses. EG currently standing at 8-0, by the way. They're undefeated. Not a single team has beaten them in this tournament. And we're going to get right into the picks here. So Complexity has been kind of on and off recently. They've been practicing a lot. They're definitely a team in North America who's well known for their regiments of just practicing all day, trying to find scrims whenever they can. But for the most part, they're kind of inconsistent, I would say, recently. We saw one game with Quantic that they played in Prodota2 where it basically wasn't even close, and Quantic was even using two ringers. Then the day after that, Complexity performed extremely well and managed to take out... I don't even remember what the game was. I don't remember who they were playing against, but they showed that they're definitely looking a little bit more like the Complexity of old, where they had something like a 23-4 record or something like that. And those numbers always change, by the way. If you look back in the VODs, it can be anywhere from 20 to 25 to 3 to 5 or something like that. But statistically speaking, they were definitely probably the best team in the earlier stages of the beta. But getting into the game here, going to have Enigma and Leshrac banned out, along with a Darkseer, and Chen banned straight away as well. So, bans going pretty fast here. The Darkseer ban is something that we haven't seen quite as much, and typically people ban that hero because you're not going to be getting too many BKBs, and I think Snoopy is actually calling right now. Let's see if he's here. Snoopy, are you here?
Yo, what's up, what's up, what's up?
Awesome. All right, so what do you think about this game, man? You excited? You think it's going to be a good game?
Yeah, sure, why not, man?
Sure, why? Yeah, whatever. It's cool. It'll be great. But no, I agree. I think both of these teams, obviously, top contenders for North American teams especially. And looking at the bans so far, nothing really too shocking. I think the Darkseer is not seen quite as much as we used to see it, and Leshrac is kind of the same thing. I think teams are kind of just getting into their own mold where they're like, these are the heroes that we like to play and don't like to play against, and that's pretty much what they just stick to.
hmm
But are you expecting anything out of EG here? I know Complexity has been a little bit inconsistent with their performances as of late. I mean, I think you were there when we casted the
What do you
Quantic
mean?
game.
We just lost it then.
No. I mean, a couple of days ago. Like the last time we casted them in this tournament.
Yeah,
When they played up against Quantic, I think it was.
Mouse, Quantic, Mouse, and for this tournament alone,
Yeah.
is it? You just yeah, they lost to Quantic twice, I believe.
Yeah.
Once.
I think it was actually both games. But in the second game, they were using two ringers as well. I don't know. I think that they're either really on or they just make a lot of really strange decisions, you know? Like whenever I see them play, it looks like they either win decisively or just lose badly. I don't know. It's kind of strange, but Brewmaster going to be the last ban out here from EG, and we're going to take Nature's Prophet as first pick from Complexity. And that leaves a lot of things open for EG. I know they have an Invoker player. Bulba definitely loves to play him. And Melk is
And
back, by
CK,
the way, as well.
and CK is open as well. You didn't notice?
Yeah, well, I was actually mentioning more the fact that I noticed that if that is actually Melk, that he's back. Like, actually back and not just MIA. I guess his vacation lasted, what, like a month or something like that?
They were practicing about 2 weeks ago, with Milk.
That's a bit strange. I know Beta's finally
then
made
it was,
his, like, official leave from the team. And then I guess he's playing for Root now. I'm not sure if that's official either, because the North American scene is just too complicated for me at the moment. Too much team shuffling, people using ringers and whatnot. But EG's kind of taking their time here. They're really debating on what they want to take. Now, if this was you, you would probably just go for the CK straight away and probably Invoker as well, right? I mean, I'm just thinking like...
Yeah, they run well together. I don't see why not just take the both.
Yeah. Oh, wow, they're going to go with neither, actually, and pick up Shadow Demon and Lone Druid instead. So the Shadow Demon pick, that has to be kind of an anticipation for the Invoker coming out here from Complexity. I know that TC plays Invoker very well, and Shadow Demon's one of the few heroes who can stand up to him in middle lane. So if they do go with an Invoker, they could just as well stand the Shadow Demon there, but at the same time, it still leaves their lanes a bit more flexible, because if they do not pick Invoker and there's something else mid, then Shadow Demon can just go play support instead, and they can get something for Bulba later on in the draft. I think that's actually a pretty wide open and smart way to draft here.
hmm
So we're going to have to see what Complexity decides to respond with, and I'm not really sure at this point. I mean, giving a Nature's Prophet away, Enchantress also, by the way, still in the pool, kind of fallen off a little bit. I mean, she's still picked commonly, but not quite the precedent that we used to see her in North American games, where she was picked or banned every game, period.
Yeah, I think Chen's just a way bigger threat than Enchantress. Like people just work around on dealing against Enchantress nowadays.
Yep. I think as people get more accustomed to draft, and that has to be kind of a reason too why drafting constantly changes. It's just a matter of you get to a point where you're so used to playing against a specific lineup that you're just good against it, regardless of what your kind of drafting is. So I think that's going to be something we're going to continue to see as the beta progresses towards the International 2, by the way, which is going to be in late August. I'm actually really excited for that, too. I know you guys are going to be there. That's going to be a good time. But Complexity's still kind of drawing things out here a bit. They're taking up quite a bit of their bonus time, about 30 seconds left or so. And what are you thinking here from Complexity? I mean, after seeing those two picks, they're really thinking about it, and they're going to go with an Invoker instead. Well, I shouldn't say instead. That's actually pretty common.
Maybe Invoker Tide, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna go with
So the lineup is going to get played out by itself. It's going to be Hannah on Tide, Fluff on Furion. So that's a Suicide Tide, by the way.
Yeah, we've
But
seen
we'll
that
see.
before.
Yeah, they like to run this type of lineup. They've practiced it over and over again, so I believe Fluff would know what to do with it.
Well, depending on how EG lanes this, I think is going to be a big story as well, because they have a kind of lane right now where you see a lone druid, and we saw him for a short time go long lane, you know, and just kind of try to get whatever experience and gold that he can. We've seen him in short lane as well, but I'm not really sure what kind of strategy they're going to go with. It's obviously going to be played by Fear, and Fear is...
If it's Fear, it's definitely safe lane.
Yeah.
I don't see it ever changing. Like, they've done really well with him in safe lane with Syllabear. I don't see the point of changing it for them.
Well, we're going to have to find out what the third pick is here from EG, and then we're going to get into the second ban phase. But right now, both teams looking... well, actually, I should say EG is a bit more open in their lanes right now. I mean, when you have a solo Tidehunter, as you called it, top lane, then you have an Invoker mid, your lanes are pretty restricted. That has to mean Furion's going to be jungling or safe lane if they're going to pick up an Enchantress to partner with him just to push bottom, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. And also, Sand King being taken up here by EG, and that's another hero that we've been seeing a lot recently, especially in the first 6 or so picks. I think Sand King's still extremely strong. I don't know why people so heavily favor him over Earthshaker nowadays. I mean, I always felt like if you have an ES in a lot of situations can just be infinitely better. He can sit farther back than a Sand King can if you end up having to like babysit a carry or something like that. If you get a good fissure, it's always going to be better than any other stun. Like, there's pretty much no way around it. You can block people off, you can block people in to get kills, etc. What are your thoughts on that? Like, why do you think people don't favor Earthshaker quite as much?
I think it's just the in and out factor. Is because teams, if the Sand King is doing well, it can get a quicker blink. It needs less farm. It can move a lot quicker around the map compared to an ES. And then to commit to commit to killing him might end up being a sentry or dust, you know. And if you don't, you know, that's a waste of 200 gold or whatever.
Yeah, that is actually a really good point. Sandstorm OP. That's what we're going to go with. But Enchantress
He's just got good juking ability, I guess.
Yeah, his mobility is obviously much higher than an Earthshaker. I just think in some cases, like, especially if you're running a lone druid, I think having an Earthshaker is better just because it gives you more time to be able to retreat, basically, just due to the fact that your range is that much higher. But I guess when you get level 7 or so on the Sand King and you get the max rank of Burrow Strike, it's not too much difference, so... And Enchantress taken out here by Complexity as well, along with Queen of Pain. So Queen of Pain being banned out here, I guess that was a ban for basically Jo at this point, because TC's got to be playing the Invoker. And like you said, Fluff's going to be on Furion. Or wait, did you say Furion or Tide?
Tide.
Tide, yeah, okay.
Fluff,
So Hannah's on
on
Furion, that's right.
No, Hannah will be on the Tide, and Fluff will be on the Furion.
Oh, that's what I just said. I guess I said it right the first time. Okay. So, looking at these last two bans out here, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I mean, I haven't seen a CK not picked in a while. Or not pick their band, you know? And they're going to ban Batrider out instead. Well, I mean, Batrider's definitely a really good pick here. They don't have too much in terms of escape mechanisms. I mean, you basically have Ghostwalk, and that's essentially it. You can try to TP out, but there's already Disruption and Stun out from EG, plus Entangle can stop TPs as well. So I think that Batrider would have been a strong pick here. He's also really great at dominating lanes. And if they anticipated that the Tide was going to be top from EG, and they sent a Batrider against the Tide, then he just would have been completely screwed. And I could have probably sent Fear to another lane. But at the same time, like you said earlier, they might just be looking to send Fear to that safe lane regardless and just have him farm. So we'll see what EG's going to do here for their last ban. I don't really think that Complexity has its quote-unquote carry yet, as EG has already shown their cards there by taking the Lone Druid. But what do you think, man?
I wonder if EG would ever pick up Lena with the SD combo or Conquer.
Yeah, Kunkka's really good too. I saw that the other day. I think it was a North American match. I think it was for
That was Mouse versus Complexity. They used SD Conquer twice, and they won both of those matches against Complexity with SD Conquer.
yeah. Now, when you
That
use
was.
that combo, can't you just immediately cast Torrent when you see the disruption, or do you have to wait like a half a second or
Yeah,
something like that?
you can wait. Because it's a bigger AoE effect on
Ah,
the
yeah.
torrent, so you have a little room for error. So it will always hit if you cast it slightly mistimed.
Yeah, that's actually a really good combo.
Mm.
Well, basically anything with a stun and Shadow Demon is going to be a good combo. But I think Lena's probably the most aggressive choice you could possibly go with, just because of her spam ability and her ultimate too. I mean, you get Soul Catcher Laguna Blade, that's gonna hurt a lot.
Even just the stun and the Dragon Flare or whatever it is
Yeah,
would
Dragon
hurt.
Slave.
Yeah.
Well, Crystal Maiden going to be taken up here by Complexity, so I would expect to see something like maybe even a Morphling at this point.
Morphling?
Yeah.
Yeah, Morphling would probably suit their lineup a lot more.
Yeah, it also adds more early game viability because Invoker is obviously great early game, so is CM. Tide is good, but I feel like he's not really going to accomplish too much in this particular lineup just because of the team that they have right now, so they can't really be relying on him to do a whole lot. So I think getting a Morphling would round out their lineup pretty nicely here. But now we're going to have to wait for EG to see what they're going to go with. Picks are taking quite a long time. It seems like both these teams have a high level of respect for each other, or they're just like trying to mind game each other pretty insanely. And they're going to go with Tinker. So that is going to be a support Shadow Demon at this point, if not a safe lane Tinker. I mean, we have seen safe lane Tinker with Max March before,
I think
but
he's gonna go mid.
yeah,
I've seen a lot of Fear might go mid if they know they're putting the Invoker there because he relatively has a nice time, but they do have a Furion, so we'll see.
yeah, I think that's really the only thing that's subject to change in this lineup is who's going to be mid, basically, from EG, because I still think that Shadow Demon is a really strong choice. If you get a high level of Soul Catcher, plus not to mention now the burst damage coming out from Tinker to boot, I think they
Mhm.
want to essentially solo both of those heroes to really get the full benefit from their lineup, which would mean
So
that,
a tri-lane bottom,
yeah, they could have the
possibly.
Sand King with the Lone Druid down there and possibly a ranged support, but Tiny's going to be the last pick out here from Complexity again, and he can fill that carry role, like without a
Mhm.
doubt. So we've seen him in late game with Aghanims, Assault Cuirass, in some cases even something like a Daedalus to
And
be able
I
to
think
win.
TC, the way TC plays it, he doesn't um, buy Blink.
Yeah,
He
I think
just
he
goes
goes
for the
phase
full
drum,
moves
right?
there. Yeah, he goes phase drums into Aghanim Scepter into AC, I believe.
Yeah, I mean that's just a
That's
really good
his
combo.
go-to. Yeah,
He just does so
just
much
him.
damage, man. Like the physical damage output, not to mention his combo in itself. And he's probably going to need a BKB this game, I would think, and especially now seeing the Venomancer pickup as well. He's probably going to be looking at that at some point in the game. And Venomancer is a pick where I don't. I mean, it does fit the lineup because they needed a support. They had the Shadow
Mhm.
Demon already, but depending on how they lane it, he might not be in a support role. It might just be the Sand King and the Venomancer. And right now, I'm thinking like Venomancer almost seems like a liability in this particular stage of the game. I mean, yeah, he gives great vision with Plague Wards. He has a really good level 1 slow. He's probably the
Mhm.
best level 1 hero. But as soon as a couple levels get up on the CM, I don't know if they're going to be able to play that aggressively if they do end up trailing bottom. We'll have to see, though.
I think they are gonna try lane bottom. I haven't seen EG done like a dual lane unless they have a hero they're really comfortable with suiciding bottom. Like their suicide hero is usually like a brood or something.
Right.
Most of the times they either run a dual lane or a tri lane down bottom.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, too, that they banned out Beastmaster on EG's side. I know that they definitely can run Beastmaster. Universe plays at long lane, and then periodically they would have a Demon play at mid. But I
Mhm.
actually... Is Demon Bella Love? Is that who that is?
I
I would
believe
imagine it
so.
is, yeah, because he's the only person who doesn't have their official tag on. But we're going to have a pause because North American Dota, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. If you've not seen it before, this is going to be EG taking on Complexity for Prodota2's American Bracket. This is round 2. My name is Draskyl. Joining me is Snoopy from Absolute Legends. Thanks again for casting with me on such short notice because oftentimes neither of us really know when the matches are going on because people are just changing them around so frequently. We're happy to have you guys here with us today, and that is a shark helmet. I'm so happy. That's actually kind of gruesome. There's like blood on the side of it and stuff too. You can see like bones and stuff hanging out of the side. It's pretty grisly, man. It's supposed to be a game for everybody. Can't have that kind of stuff in here.
Is that a rare or something on side?
It looks like a shark, doesn't it? Like if you zoom in.
Yeah, it looks like shark, but I'm saying the item. What is it? Is it a rare, uncommon?
Oh, I think it's rare, yeah. I think all this stuff that has like a really big graphical difference is technically rare. Although I never get items when I play this game, so I wouldn't know. I won like 8 games in a row yesterday. I didn't get anything but boxes. If I get another box, I'm gonna write an angry letter.
Should start getting people to lob you some keys.
I really should. I should start asking. If people want to gift me keys, feel free. Steam profiles, Draskyl 911. Go, go. Well, apparently one of the members of Complexity is AFK IX Mike. Oh, he's here. So I guess we're going to have the unpause. We'll go over the players really fast for Complexity. Jay are going to be playing Invoker TC on Tiny. Hannah Montana playing that Tidehunter IX Mike 88 on Crystal Maiden. And finally, Fluff and Stuff going to be playing on that Furion. And for EG, we're going to have Bulba playing Tinker, so I'm assuming that's going to be mid. Universe playing Shadow Demon. Bella Love, AK Demon, going to be on Sand King. Fear on Lone Druid. And finally, Milk rounding out everyone's lineup on the Venomancer. And I gotta say it right now, Milk Venomancer. I think we all know that shout out to what we're making right now. That game was definitely something special, and hopefully not going to see a repeat this game.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna see a repeat.
You just think it's going to be, what was it like?
I haven't seen it fail. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no!
But when Milk feeds with Venom, they end up winning the game. So.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but it was definitely a spectacle for sure. For those of you who missed it, and obviously we're trolling here. Obviously, Milk's a great player, but going to see some scouting out done here by the Treant. So it is probably going to be a. Well, looking at it right now, you were right on the Tide, still a long lane. TC's going to be kind of wandering around here in the jungle, not quite sure where he wants to go. And we are going to see the tri-lane bottom, but instead of having the Lone Druid down here, he's just going to be soloing top. And I think that after spotting that out, it looks like Complexity wants to change their lanes here. I think that's why we're seeing the movement so far. Which is probably not a bad idea. They want to give TC the best start that he can get, but how good is he going to do against a Lone Druid? I mean, I still think that Fear is going to be pretty comfortable in that situation. As we can see, actually...
Might see a rotation after they see this lane. I think the Venom is just going to go up and sit the bear afterwards.
Well, Hannah Montana might be in some trouble here. I think level 1 Burrow Strike is just out of range of this side, actually. And Tide's faster anyway by 10 movement speed, so he's going to be able to get away. But yeah, I think that this lane switch is actually a pretty good idea. Having the CM up there is going to significantly help, but I think you're correct, too, when you say that the Venomancer is probably just going to get the heck out of here. And Demon's actually taking quite a bit of creep damage here, even with the Stout Shield. You can see Universe over there as well. Trying to get something done on this Tide, but Hannah positioning himself quite well. And also see an aggressive ward here behind the tower from EG, so no real surprises thus far. They definitely want to play this aggressive. And speaking of, IX Mike not going to throw out the Nova. I actually thought he was just going to run straight in and try to harass, but going to decide against it. So who are you favoring for these lanes so far? Or do you think it's going to be based on the Furion and his activity?
I think it's going to definitely come down to the Furion. Like how fast he gets the level 6.
Well, it's not only level 6, but if you think about it too, top is very gankable. I mean, even with a set of tangos, you're not really going to get away from a Furion TP gank, especially with basically double stun and a slow. So you can see EG is kind of walking around here in the woods, smoked up. I think Universe has actually got broken.
It definitely takes some time for jungle Furion. I usually see Furion's gank around about level 4, so if they keep the score sheet up, they would know roughly when the Furion will gank, or when he will start moving around. Because it's rare to see like a Furion gank at level 3, especially jungling, because it consumes so much time.
Right.
Like sometimes it's not even worth like getting the kill, because you wasted so much time and so much mana.
No, I definitely agree. And bottom lane looks like Hannah's going to get caught out here slightly. Universe is going to throw out the disruption. Belolove getting in a position to throw out the Burrow Strike. There it is. No Soul Catcher, though. Hannah's taking quite a bit of damage, but I think he's going to be okay. Just going to go ahead and fall back to that tower as we see a TP top in from Furion as well. There's a Sunstrike onto Fear. We can see a First Blood right here, and Furion picks it up from Fluff and Stuff. Level 2 Furion gank, man. They had to prove you wrong.
We'll see what... so he's going to buy a TP and go back, because he should... Actually, he doesn't.
Haste. So that probably means Midas, I would assume.
Yeah, he's gonna go Midas. Midas, Mech, Urn, and Scepter. That's his usually go-to items as Furion for fluff and stuff.
Well, we're going to see a lot of that, I would assume, top lane, as long as Fear is playing as aggressively as he is right now. I mean, we see a rotation up here by the Venomancer finally, after that first kill went down, and he's going to be in a pretty rough spot, man. I mean, even with these two heroes here, I'm not sure if they can safely farm. I mean, Melk is going to help, but he's not going to be too useful. He is getting Plague Wards at level 2, by the way. Another disruption going off on Hannah Montana. Gets stuck by the illusion, stunned once again. He does have Soul Catcher on him this time, but I think he's still going to be fine. Still has plenty of regen as well. How does he still have that much regen after getting comboed twice? Did he buy 2 sets of tangos? I don't even remember.
I think he bought the 6... Yeah, the 2 sets of tangos and 1+.
Well, currently 1-0 right now in favor of Complexity, as Fear is up here trying to recover from that first blood. He's got 10 CS right now. TC's actually got 16, so he's doing quite well for himself. 1-1 on that support. Obviously, Melk 3-1 right now, doing some creep pulling as well, as the ward went down actually quite a bit after the original creep wave started. So I think that's a pretty good idea, especially considering that Fear couldn't have really pulled and been too successful with it anyway. They could have just ran at him. There's not much you can do. And Hannah Montana, once again, being chased really far bottom lane. He's actually going to turn around and go on Universe here, taking quite a bit of creep damage. A Sunstrike right onto Universe. It is going to hit him. And he disrupts himself right as Fluff TP's in, but I don't think it's going to matter. There's another Anchor Smash. So another kill for Complexity. Really nice reaction there from Jail mid playing that Invoker. Perfectly timed Sunstrike, along with the burst damage coming out. And that is some serious global reaction from Complexity's team. They got to really think about their engagements.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sunstrike is basically adding another hero to a gank in itself, especially considering... Actually, he's gone for the 2-2 build instead, so he's getting his regen up after landing against that Tinker in the middle lane. So we can also see Bulba going to go ahead and bottle up a double damage and head back middle, but I gotta say, man, Complexity's doing everything right so far. Kind of ragged on him a bit at the beginning, but they're definitely showing their true colors this game. About 5 minutes in, and TC's sitting at roughly 24 CS as Melk's going to get cut out here. Nice double Gale, though. Might be able to get away. See another Sunstrike coming up. Might be a little late. Oh, but the Frostbite. Perfect timing. Tiny picks up that kill. Bear going to scout out where the remnants of his friend was. As you can see, he just turns into a pool of... I guess that's supposed to be blood, but since he's Venomancer, it's like green. And that's 3-0 right now in favor of Complexity. Looking at the gold graph, 750 in favor of Complexity at the moment, and 500 experience, so not really too huge. It is only 5.5 minutes into the game, remember that though, and this tier 2, or tier 1 bottom I should say, is quite low, and could be falling soon depending on what kind of reaction we see here from Complexity. And after seeing the way that the things are working out in terms of lanes, do you think that this is kind of expected, or do you think that EG might just be playing this a little bit sloppily?
I think they're playing it a bit too overconfident, knowing that there's a solid tide, I guess. But I don't think they put the Sunstrike Invoker into play.
Oh, another Sunstrike going off on a Melk. Oh, but Fluff messes up the Sprout, pushes Melk out of the way. A little bit of mistiming there. Ajax might coming around from the back, getting chased out by a bear. There's 3 here, though. Boba coming in from mid as well. There's a set of rockets. Is Ajax might going to go down? The Sprout goes off onto the bear, but not enough to save his teammate, as Fluff is going to be forced to retreat here. And bottom lane looks like it is going to go down here eventually. The glyph was just used. Is Sanka going to get the last hit? Nope. Looks like he biffs it right there. And Universe will get the extra gold from that, so I'm sure the support player will be quite pleased with himself for that extra money. And that was a nice reaction by EG, getting their first kill of the game. Although it was only a CM, definitely better than nothing. Also relieves some of the pressure on top lane for a little bit. So we can see Fear sitting in the side here, farming up some creeps. He's level 6 too, so the next time they try to gank him, he's going to be much more durable. He's going to have that bonus HP from True Form. And Fluff and Stuff right now, level 5. He's actually halfway to level 6, and it's only 7 minutes, so he's doing really well. That first kill definitely helped him out. He's getting close to his Midas as well, only 400 gold away. This middle lane, Bulba has that Invis rune, but really no mana. So even if he comes out, I don't know if they're going to be able to kill Jo. He doesn't have Wex, though. They're going to go for it. Going to see the level 2 Soul Catcher come out. Bulba's trying to bottle up before he throws out the combo, and he's taking a lot of damage. Sunstrike is not going to hit Universe, and he will go down. That was a lot more damage than I was expecting. I guess that level 4 laser with Soul Catcher, even only being level 2, is quite a bit of damage output.
It's pure damage as well for the laser.
Yep. and that was enhanced by 30%, I think, for level 2. Let's just double check. Well, it's level
So
3
like
now. 'Cause he
400
just,
or something.
yeah, that is definitely crazy. As we can see, rotation. Bottom lane, Furion going to get spotted out here by Shadow Demon Universe, throwing out the disruption once again. Can Sand King get in range to stun? I believe he can! Another Soul Catcher goes off, and one right click for Universe will go ahead and seal the deal. So tied up now, 3-3 at 8 minutes.
That's gonna be one fast blink on Sand King if he doesn't die within the next 2 minutes.
Holy crap, man. 49 CS.
And he's already got Arcane Boots.
Yeah, that's going to be a scary fast blink. And once he gets that, he can pretty much do whatever he wants. He can try to gank. I mean, he can keep farming, but I don't think it's going to be in their best interest. They can definitely pick off heroes, top lane especially, with how aggressive they've been playing it. And TC, by the way, also has his phase boots picked up. He's got 43 CS, 13 denies, 1-0-1 at this current point. And Bulbo right now sitting in mid, he is 1-0-1 himself, 1700 gold-ish, 31 CS with 15 denies, getting closer and closer to his Boots of Travel. And once Boots of Travel and Blink are up on EG, I think they're gonna be playing this pretty aggressive. Like, they just have such a tremendous amount of burst damage that if you get caught out, you're just gonna die. Like, there's
And I
no
believe
way
you can
around it.
TP onto the bear as well.
Oh, really? The bear too?
Yeah.
Wow, that would definitely be a little bit ridiculous. I've never actually seen that before, I don't think. At least not on Dota 2. But we're gonna find out here in a little bit. We'll see how things go as Sand King continues to farm his way towards Blink in that bottom lane and top. We can see the bear just kind of waddling in here. Does have an Orb of Venom on it too. Gets the Entangle off on the creep, and Fear has phase boots on his own hero rather than putting him on the bear. I think that's fine though, just for the extra mobility to not get ganked. Fluff and stuff. 100 gold away from his own Midas right now. Sitting in the woods, level 6, getting close to level 7, does have that ultimate up. If any extra damage is taken by EG and they think they can get a kill with it. Man, they're just waiting for an Entangle, I think, on this top lane. That's what they're going for. As soon as they get one, you could see some aggressive play coming out. Venomancer's level 5, he has level 3 Plague Ward. He's got his boots picked up here. Gonna see more farming in this bottom lane by Sand King, who, by the way, does have a rank of Caustic. I think that's definitely player preference. I mean, one rank of Caustic is pretty much going to ensure that your lane's always going to be pushed. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily what they want.
I think it's because they saw a melee hero, so 1 point doesn't really hurt.
Nope. Entangle onto the...
Oh,
TP in onto the bear after the Entangle. And here comes Bulba, but he gets stun tossed and immediately dies. TC hasn't even fallen yet. One more auto attack should be able to get TC. The Sunstrike's off the mark, but a Blink Epicenter Burrow Strike right onto the rest of Complexity. That's 3 down. Here comes Ty, though, with the Ravage. Hits 3, but is he going to be able to get fair? I don't think so. He's completely out of mana at this point, throwing out another Anchor Smash, and he gets rooted as well. Hannah trying to run away. A Burrow Strike in from Sand King. There's the Gale, and he is going to get kited to death, but here comes the Volker from the side. Manages to pick off the Sand King. Fearing a bit of trouble now as well. Jo trying to get out the Forward Spirits to do extra damage. Plague Ward's going down as well, and Jo is just not quite fast enough, but he no fear went to the left. You can see a ping right there, but he just falls back. Did he not see that? Oh man, was Fear really out of range because it was nighttime? Definitely great play right there by Fear, juking to the left side there, knowing that he didn't have vision. Another Sunstrike. Gonna hear it. Not quite on the mark though. Wow, that was an insane fight. I can't believe that TC lived that long. Like, that was ridiculous. Thoughts?
Tidehunters, man. Tidehunters, man.
I thought that...
Oh, sorry. That was the tiny.
Yeah, the tiny lived.
The stout shield, man.
Yeah.
What
Stout
else
shield
can it
OP.
be?
I can't believe that. The Tide came in ravaged, hit everybody basically, Anchor Smash as well, got no kills whatsoever, and just got kited to death. That has to be very frustrating. Like, there's pretty much no way around it. But he did show his bots, so they definitely know that Bulba's going to be TPing to that bear pretty much any time they get a chance. And that was a really cute play there. Although, Bulba pretty much died before he was able to do anything. He got stun tossed as soon as it came in. It was a nice reaction by TC, because he would have for sure died if Bulba had been able to do anything right there. And in the meantime, Bulba might be in a bit of trouble here. Sunstrike going off as well. That is a ton of damage output. Fearing on TP, not even necessary. You saw the trees growing in the river there, but wasn't necessary. Bottom lane, Sand King sitting off here to the side, kind of staring at TC in the lane here. Doesn't it, Epi, though? About 15
I think
seconds
it's just
left.
going to be patient and wait for the Tinker to come. Like, they're going to blink stun and try to combo him down. It's got 1,100 HP. I don't know if they'll be able to do it though. He could be waiting for his ulti and then do it.
Yeah, I think they're going to do it right now. Epi's going to be up in about 1 second.
Mhm.
Can they
Here we
get the
go.
combo off? Oh, he's going to Epi first. He's going to blink in right
Yep.
here. There's a stun on the TC. The TP's coming in from the Tinker, and that's pretty much a free kill. Nothing TC really could have done about that. Nice patience there by Demon. Managing to get the blink epicenter off and killing, basically, I guess you could say, one of the carries of Complexity at this point. And apparently Demon is lagging out, so we're going to have another pause. But right now, 6-8 at just under the 13-minute mark. Once again, guys, this is Complexity taking on EG for Prodota2's second round of American bracket. Once this is over, I believe we're going into the playoffs, where the top 2 teams from North America and the top 3 teams from Europe and the Asian scene as well will be competing against each other. And we're just going to go ahead and look at the overall creep score right here, and just to see where everybody's at. So Furian's at 54. We have Jo sitting at 40 and 14. TC at 56 and 22, I believe. No, he's actually not the leader. Sand King is leading with 64 and 11. 13 and 0 for Hannah, so he was having a hard time against that aggressive tri-lane / dual lane. And then we have 17 and 5 for Melk, 42 and 19 for Tinker, 11 and 2 for Shadow Demon, and finally 46 and 14 for Fear. So in overall gold, it's actually not heavily in favor, but a little bit in favor of Dire at this point, about 1,500 gold lead. And in terms of experience, the experience is actually going in the way of Complexity. So the game's still very even at this point. Once again, only 13 minutes in. As we can also see an urn here picked up on Shadow Demon. We'll just look at everybody's items really fast, just because. So Midas picked up. He is going for an urn as well. We're going to have a Staff of Wizardry here on Invoker, so I can only assume that's going to be a 4 staff. I don't really think he goes Yules first. I've seen some Invokers do it, but I don't really think he does that. Hannah has a Bracer, and that's pretty much it. No one else really has any items of note on Complexity. Obviously, Sand King showed his Blink Dagger earlier. The bots on Bulba as well demonstrated in that top lane, even though it kind of got him killed. And apparently everybody's ready to go, so we're going to get the game started once again. See which of these 2 teams is going to come out on top here. And I don't really know if you can give either team an advantage. It's just really going to come down to engagements. And I guess with that being said, if you did have to say who had a lead here, it would be EG, just because of their sheer map presence. Like, they have a global Tinker right now who can be anywhere with a Blink Sand King, and not to mention the Shadow Demon if he's there as well. I mean, there's no hero that can live through that combination in itself. But at the same time, you also have Sunstrike, you have Furion who can be anywhere on the map, and a Tidehunter who can turn fights around if EG overextends at any point, which we kind of saw a little bit of top, but unfortunately Tide was a little bit later to that fight than maybe he would have liked to have been. But what do you think, man? You think he's just going to be down to movement at this point?
I don't think so. I think EG is in a good spot right now, considering their pressure, because they just look. The bear's getting free farm, and no one's even pressuring the bear at all.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more favorable for them, where TC has to be guarded all the time.
That is very true. And Fear sitting up here with 1,500 health, and that's kind of the power of Lone Druid, honestly. I mean, you get the synergy that gives you the bonus HP in itself from being in your ult form, and then you can just sit in ult form and basically like double or triple your total HP, which makes you that much harder to gank. But it looks like Complexity just wants to try to push this out. We're going to see Bulba with 0 March, not really be able to stop this, actually. He's going to throw out a set of rockets, but Forge Spirits and Treant's going to be doing quite a bit of damage to this tower. Plague Ward's being dropped to try to defend. As we see a TP actually... Oh, no, it wasn't cancelled. He's just so small I really couldn't see him. And the Fortify does go off, and nice deny by TC. So getting rid of some of the gold that EG would have otherwise gotten as his first tier tower mid will fall. Complexity gets the kill for that. Sand King and Universe still sitting in his bottom lane, pushing away. Not sure if they're going to continue to push here. No TP reaction yet from Complexity. Tiny did have the TP top to get that deny. So we're probably going to see a couple of people from Complexity start to rotate bottom lane, as Furion is currently making his way to that tower bottom.
They're smoked at the moment. I believe they're going to hit top.
Yeah, they definitely want to go for Fear, but I don't think that ward actually saw them. Like EG's ward on the high ground right there by the rune spot. I don't think that saw them. But Fear is playing really passive right here. We're going to see a TP reaction here already. The Universe is going to be the first one up, so maybe they did see it. It was daytime when they smoked.
I think it's just good instincts, just considering the way that Tiny played.
Well, they're going to use Forward Spirits to scout things out here. IX Mike is leading the charge currently. The Bear is going to spot out IX Mike. The dust, or smoke rather, has worn off. As we're going to see a TP in onto the bear. That might actually have been a bad idea, and yeah, he just stops it. The bear gets resummoned, and I guess Complexity just going to go ahead and fall back here, as we can currently see 4 members of EG themselves already at this top lane. And without Furion, I guess he could TP to the action whenever he wants to, but I think Complexity is just going to go ahead and choose to farm. TP on Tiny going to be used in that bottom lane. At this point, I think that a really late game Tiny might be enough to carry, but it's kind of a risk, I think, because that's just, like you said, giving EG more time to get the Lone Druid farm. Not to mention the Sand King is going to be really big as well, and that's something that you have to always take into account. If he gets a Veil after his Blink any time within the next 5 to 10 minutes, the level 2 epicenter damage that he's going to do is going to be ridiculous. Like, they're just all going to die. Even heroes like Tide, who have a significant amount of base HP, I don't think they can live through that. But we are going to have to see here Smoke used up by EG. 3 heroes, Venomancer, Shadow Demon, and Sand King, all making their way towards this tier 2 top, and you can see the little drawing on the map there. Looks like Demon wants to cut them off. This could be a little bit of a risk, though. If he can manage to get a decent epicenter, oh, he is going to channel it right here, but they're falling back a little bit. He does manage to stun on the Crystal Maiden. Crystal Maiden not going to live through that. TP coming in right now from Invoker, and the rest of EG is just going to try to fall back. Nice Sandstorm there by Demon. He's going to be able to get himself out of trouble. So you can see the level 1 March being used here by Bubble as well to push out the wave and prevent any aggression coming out from Complexity, but that was a lot of time and an ultimate for just the CM. I'm not really sure if that was what EG wanted to accomplish right there.
They were hoping to get, like, I think both of the heroes and the tower if possible, or an overreaction, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, a kill's a kill for sure, but that's kind of a situation where it's almost just a wash due to how much time they had to spend getting into position, using the money to buy the smoke as well. And they had, what, 3 or 4 people up there, while TC was just free farming bottom lane. And by the way, Tiny buys a Blade of Alacrity first, so if he is going for a Scepter, he's buying it in a very roundabout way. Maybe he just didn't want to send the courier to the side shop.
Maybe Yasha, more movement speed. Who knows?
Yeah, it is a possibility, but doesn't that kind of diminish your late game potential? I mean, yeah, Yasha does give you the attack speed and move speed, but having a Scepter is just, in my opinion, much more dominant. I mean, yeah, it costs like roughly twice as much, but I think that that's pretty much the only way a Tiny can carry is with that item. Right now we can see EG kind of forming up here. A little bit of wall of wards going down by Melk. Shadow Demon going to be throwing out his Poison Touch as well. Combo off onto the creep wave to simply farm it and fall back. As we can see Complexity here also farming their jungle. And no one top lane once again. I mean, Fear's basically just sitting up here. Free reign. He has his Relic now on his bear. It's only 18.5 minutes in. And even though he died in the beginning of the game, right now he's up to 85 CS. He has 2 kills. So he's going to have a really fast Radiance, actually.
I say 21. I say 21. Maybe 20.
Yeah, but that's going to be a problem.
I think after you get to... I think they're just going to try to get a pick off and go Roche right afterwards. And then start pushing towers as like 3, 4. And let Tinko solo push out the other lanes.
Well, if you're EG, wouldn't you technically want to push mid first before you try to go for a Roche? I mean, you can still get there pretty darn fast from a tier 1 mid. It's not ideal, but...
They can definitely just pick a hero and go straight to Roche, depending on the area where they're going to pick them up, either bottom or mid.
I don't know, I think if...
top...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think if they pick off something like the CM, it might, or even the Fear Ana might not be that effective because you still have Tiny and a Tide in the Roche pit. That's still quite a bit of damage. We see Blink Epicenter in onto TC as well. Gets entangled in it to boot, and Boba comes in from the back with a laser to the face. And TC is going to fall there, so it looks like they might be trying to push first and then fall back for the Roche, which would definitely be the better of the 2 options because that just means that you're pushing Complexity further into the base, and that just makes it so that it takes them longer to get to Roche. So we'll see what they're going to do here. March of the Machines is Pop Bear, and a Creep Wave going to be tanking the tower here. And I don't think this tower is really going to be saved, as right now Complexity looks like they want to push bottom lane. Forward Spirit's already out. Gil going to be used there by Melk to try to stop the wave, but it's really not going to be anything that's going to slow them down too much.
Sorry about this, man. I'm like,
oh man,
sick.
it's okay. I think everybody's sick actually, especially people who went to DreamHack. People are like dying basically. So we can see everybody's trying to fall back here. Deafening Blast going to be off the mark. Boba throwing out the March of the Machines as well. Fluff should be able to TP out of here. Oh, gets blinked in, and he gets stunned on actually. Almost overshot the blink. That would have been disastrous. He pops the mech. Is he going to be able to actually get his TP off? I don't think so. as he is going to die with basically Midas on cooldown. As top lane, it looks like Tiny managed to get a kill on Shadow Demon. And wow, is he really going to die to the Forest Spirits and Treants? He did. Wow, Melk died to just summons, basically. Sunstrike wasn't even necessary at that point. So, 8-11 right now at 21 minutes into the game. EG leads in kills currently. See who leads in gold. It actually swinging back into favor of Complexity at this point as the experience is swapped as well. So now EG leading in experience and Complexity leading in gold. But nothing really too amazing at this point. It's still a really, really tight game, and I think we're going to be seeing more of the same as time goes on. So Tiny, by the way, did get his Ogre Club, so he is going to go for the Axe. Just bought the Blade of Alacrity first for whatever reason. I guess it doesn't really matter if you're just going to buy the whole thing at once anyway, or at least not send it to you until it's finished. Doesn't really matter what order you buy it in. As Complexity is looking right here to pressure top, Furion does TP in the woods here. Makes some trees. Just showed his mech there as well. Bear's quite low, but I think that Fear has it up in a couple of seconds. Yep, he does. You're going to see a 4-7 from Jo. Ooh, Deafening Blast way off as he disrupts himself right there. And in the meantime, looks like Fluff is getting attacked by the Bear as well, but Shadow Demon is going to be the first one to drop as Complexity does get the tower kill. Nova not really going to hit too much of anything. Bear was resummoned back to Fear's side as he just sent himself something. It was the Radiance, so if they're going to go for it, they might want to try right now. They do have Demon here. He does have a Blink Epi. It's level 2. And Sand King looks like he picked up an Ogre Club of his own. He might be going for a Scepter or a BKB. I'm not really sure at this point.
I think it'll be a BKB.
Yeah, BKB would be the safer of the two, I would think. Allows him to stay in those team fights much longer. And like you were saying earlier with the in and out, I definitely agree. That would probably be the best choice for him. And TC's getting very close to his Scepter at this point. He only needs about 300 gold, and then he'll be able to send the courier to the side chap. Go ahead and pick it up. Invoker has an ultimate orb. Regular boots still. Interesting to note. Typically, you see Invokers always finish their boots. And I think this is one of the first times I haven't seen that happen. But he does have a Force Staff now. Likely going to be going for the Hex.
Yeah, definitely cutting the higher tier boots for the Hex. It's 1,000 gold, quicker.
Yep, definitely. And now we have Drum also almost finished on Tidehunter. He's got his mana boots too, so he's made a pretty decent recovery. He's level 9 at this current point. So we can see Bulba over here on this side, throwing off some March onto the Ancient Creeps, and that is actually pretty OP. I don't think March should go through Magic Immunity. I don't know about you. I think that's just a little bit obscene.
There are only 2 spells that go for...
What is it, that and
three,
Axis?
three.
And Alchemist Cloud too, right?
Nah, Axis, Lesrak, Diabolic, and Tinker's March of the
I was talking about Ancients, not Magic Immunity. I guess I should have specified.
Yeah, just Ancients.
Yeah.
Those are the only 3 heroes that can do it.
No, Alchemist can too. Cloud definitely hits Ancients.
Only the dragons, I believe, not the stone golems and the...
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll believe you. You're on a pro team after all. Forge Spirit's doing some farming.
Right, you actually made me doubt myself now, so...
Well, I think it does, man. Like, I could have sworn it did. Maybe somebody in the chat knows for sure. Somebody go test it right now. I need to be right. Right now, Fluff and Stuff still farming. Going for a Necronomicon, by the way. I think that's definitely a good choice. Still a bit of an underused item, I would say. I don't know if it was you or somebody else I was talking to who thought that it was actually a bit underpowered in this game.
Overpowered.
Okay, overpowered, yeah. I was
talking... when there's more than 2 books. 1 book is manageable, 2 books is just ridiculous.
Yeah, especially when you have heroes
especially
like
look at the Tinker, right? If you have 2 books, by the time he gets his Hex or whatever, he only has 1100 HP. And if he marches and kills 2 green books, you know, he's dead.
It's the same with the Sand King though too. I mean, he's gonna epicenter in.
Yeah, but he's going BKB. That's the difference.
Well, yeah.
Where Tinker doesn't ever go BKB until like a 3rd, 4th item choice.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Tinker's gonna be having a sad day if they get more than 1 book. Scepter picked up here on Tiny. He's got 1100 gold as well. Could possibly be going for the Hyperstone to make that Assault Cuirass, but we're gonna have to find out here. Hannah kind of wandering around top lane, and I want to know what Fear's going to buy next. Necronomicon also purchased by the Furion there. Got his level 1 of it. As Fear looks like he's heading towards the Roche Pit. They did some counter warding here, but nice word out from Complexity. Should be able to spot people going into the pit at the very least. As EG is trying to push everybody back from this middle lane. And again, not having this tower is really risky if they do attempt to do Roche right now. And he looks like he's going to try to go for it. He summons the bear in, but oh, Treant right there. Perfect timing. So now, Complexity definitely knows that EG is going to be going for Roche at this point. So you can see them kind of forming up. But Tide is still top lane. He does have a TP, but he's not full on HP or mana, so that's not the ideal situation that they're looking for here. Rocket Spam going to go off as well and hit Jo right in the dome. Just waiting for another 75 gold on him, and he'll have his Hex. So his farm's actually really good. 143 CFs at 26 minutes. 2, 1, and 5. And this March spam is just obnoxious. They can't even cross the river. He's just spamming it basically for zone control. He's like, you want to come in here? Come at me. You'll get hit by pretty much 1 billion damage and not be able to engage into it. Especially considering they don't have any blink initiation. Tiny's going for more of a carry-centric build right now. But I think that EG's just going to go ahead and fall back instead. Tinker's going to teleport top and try to either force them to go to him, or it's going to make Complexity just go in right now. Which probably wouldn't do too much considering EG's falling back.
They're just going to be really patient about this, I think. They can slowly chip it down, get a better position to get the rush.
Yeah, with the Tinker, I think that Tinker outpushes Furion in terms of speed. I mean, eventually you're going to get to a base, and the Tinker's not going to be as great because he's really only good at killing waves. But a Furion is going to be better for pushing a base than I think a Tinker. Although overall pressure...
They might try it now. They might actually try rush now, since they saw 2 heroes down bottom, and it's already down to half. It's going to be really hard to contest as well, since they're kind of out of position for it.
Yeah, they're way out of position, actually. You can see them kind of rotating over. Invoker and Crystal Maiden making their way. Actually, they're just going to go in the jungle, so I guess they're just giving it up. They know that they can't react in time. No reason to try to get yourself into a bad spot. As we're going to see a Sunstrike go off on a Fear, gets him quite low. I guess that was probably an attempted kill steal, but nonetheless, Aegis on Fear. He does have that Radiance on his bear, along with the Hyperstone. So that bear is very scary at this point. TC still pushing in top lane. He has 2,000 gold on him right now, and I honestly think he needs a BKB if he's going to try to be that carry role. I don't know if buying Hyperstone is really the best option for him, because they need somebody who can get into team fights at this point. And since Ty didn't go blink either, I don't know like what other options they're going to have other than getting him a BKB and just really tanking like an AC or something. Because there's really 2 ways you can take team fights, and right now we can see EG kind of pushing down middle lane. Sunstrike not going to land, March in the machine, spamming everything. But the first way is just having great initiation, and the second way is counter initiation, and I think they're going to have to just rely on Tiny to be able to walk at them for victory, basically. Because right now, EG is actually doing a really good job of being all over the map. They just get a tower and Roshan, 0 contention from Complexity whatsoever. Although the gold is actually still in Complexity's favor at this point. Experience very slightly favoring EG. And that's got to be partly due to the fact that this Nature's Prophet did go for a Midas, not something we typically see. Well, I guess it is pretty common, but I don't know if a couple of weeks ago we would have seen Midas. Typically it was always like Urn or Medallion straight away, and sometimes even Phase Boots, which I thought was a bit strange. But I think
But definitely can see the Midas paying off because they're not really fighting as much, you know, so he's just concentrating on getting farm and the jungle most of the time.
Yep, and he's also buying pretty much nothing but teamfight items, so in the rare case that they do try to take an engagement, they're going to have everything they need. And speaking of, Malik's going to get caught out here by the Hex, Cold Snap, and the Sunstrike as well. Gush really not even necessary right there as the rest of EG kind of forms up towards his top lane. Fear at the tower attacking some Forge Spirits. He has a plate mail on himself as well, so he is going to be going for that AC right after the Radiance. Pretty standard build as Fluff and Stuff continues to push in this bottom lane. Going to see, actually, Sand King come down here. He has his BKB finished as well, TP in right there. Oh, and he gets massively blocked by the tree and Force Staff forward, I think, but not really going to do too much of anything. They are going to be able to clear this creep wave out, though. A little bit of miscoordination. That's definitely a kill that they wanted, too. I mean, Fluff basically getting away there scotch-free when he should have pretty much otherwise been dead. Some of the complexity he's going to take, I think. And they're grouping up here. Looks like they want to push. Bear taking quite a bit of damage. Could go down, just gets resummoned instead, not giving him that bonus 100 gold. And TC does look like he has a Hyperstone from that crazy attack speed he does. Sunstrike is going to go off and hit Fear, but there's another tower dying, and neither team wants to fight each other, man. They're just like, we're going to kill buildings, but we're not hero killers. We're lovers, not haters. This is a really strange game. I don't think I've seen this much passivity, especially when the other team is pushing your freaking tier 2s. I mean, you have a Blink Epicenter Sand King, who is also going to be working his way towards an Axe at this point, and you're just like, nah, we're not going to fight. We're just gonna chill out.
I think he got caught out because they committed down for the Fury and didn't really get the kill, and he used the TP for that. So they definitely saw an opportunity to get a tower with the heroes. I don't think they would have won a fight 4v5, even with the Aegis. They didn't have double bear as well.
Yeah, he had to use it right before they engaged.
Yeah, so if they killed the bear again, they would have been in big trouble, especially with a Scepter Tiny. You don't want to get put into a position where Tiny can just drop your tier 3 in like 5 seconds or something.
Yeah, we've seen that all the time too, especially if a team loses a team fight. And the later the game goes, the worse it's going to be. If you lose a team fight and the Tiny's still alive at the end of said team fight, your base is in a lot of trouble. There's just no way around it. The amount of damage that hero does to buildings, and just in general to basically everything, is a little bit silly, I would say. His late game is, honestly, I would say one of the best, because he can punish you so much harder than other heroes can, even hard carries, for losing team fights and just having them still alive. Like, he kills your base so much faster than anything. You can see EG looks like they want to try to go in here. TP actually going to be canceled there by Bulba, so he's still going to be sitting in the base. His complexity is here with currently everyone on their team. They might want to try to engage this. Hood also picked up on Tide as well. Jo does have that Hex. Ogre Club as well going, and he throws the Hex right off onto Sand King, and they're going to have the book on him right there, being pretty annoying. Sandstorms and tries to run away. Fear getting caught out a little bit here. This might be an overcommitment, man. I don't know if they want to really take this fight. Fear's going off to the side, though, choosing to run away from his team, trying to get the Tide out of Ravage range, I guess. And now he's going to try to run back in. He does eventually Ravage, but it really doesn't hit much of anything. And we're going to see Sand King have to BKB, but he dies so fast, can't even get his skill off, as CM also drops to the Venomancer combo. So 2 for 1 right now. Sand King the only one down, and Universe taking a little bit of damage as well. Throws off that Purge onto TC. Are we going to see a kill right there? We can see a ping in the bottom lane as well. Looks like Fear gets a double kill, and Voker also going down. And they're going to keep chasing on TC right now. And that was a really strange team fight. I mean, I got to say, like, Fear drew away the Tide really well right there. He was just in an awful position to Ravage. And that's kind of one of the risks you take when you don't have any kind of initiation on your team. I mean, there's no blink. So if you're going to try to fight like that, you kind of have to have somebody who's tanky enough to do it. And we saw how fast the Sand King died right there to basically just right-click damage from Invoker. And the Tiny as well. I don't know.
I think Damon could have played that a little bit better. He could have popped his BKB a lot earlier.
Yeah, he pretty much just died. He didn't even have
Yeah,
to.
because he popped it a bit later, and he copped the Tide Ravage as well.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to think about that team fight. That just went very strangely. And the weird thing is, Fear didn't even lose his Aegis. I mean, they had him completely cut out from the rest of everybody else on his team. But because of the Tide's positioning, they pretty much abused it. And I definitely agree. I think that Demon probably could have just sat back even a bit longer there.
I think they were scared of the Sand King.
Hannah gonna get dropped here by pretty much everybody from EG. That's definitely a kill that they cannot allow to happen. I mean, Tide doesn't have Ravage anyway at this point, but losing heroes for basically nothing is never a situation you want to give another team, because they didn't have to use anything for that. It was pretty much just walk in, get a kill, and walk away. If you can see Sand King finally alive again, sitting in top lane, working his way towards 16, about halfway there right now. Universe picking up his own Staff of Wizardry. Fluff and stuff. What does he have? He has his book 3 now. We saw it being used in that last team fight. He has 1,800 gold saved up as well, using Sprout to scout out that ward spot right there with his book. No wards down, though. Actually, pretty much the only ward on the map is the one from EG in the jungle right here. Very aggressive ward. Oh, no, I lied. There's 2 of them. 2 aggressive wards, actually. I couldn't see it because there was a hero standing over it. But there's another one in the opposition's jungle, in this case, for complexity. And right now, it's still pretty tense. I mean, nobody really wants to do much of anything. They're still kind of sitting back. I think that EG is going to be feeling fairly confident after that last team fight. I mean, granted, very awkward engagement, but nonetheless, they got to be feeling pretty good about that. And if you look at the gold difference swing right there, that was like a 3,000 gold fight, if not more. Probably closer to 4,000. And experience probably about 3,000 as well. So while complexity kind of had an edge in gold for a while, losing a team fight like that, it was 1 for what, 3 or 4, something like that?
1 for 4, I believe.
Yeah.
Jo got feared.
Yeah, I
got
don't...
tangled on the bear, spirit bear.
Well, complexity seems to be forming up here once again. Tide does have Ravage, but that tower, tier 2, just drops again. No contention whatsoever, and at some point, I really think the Complexity's going to have to try to fight and actually take a decent one, because if you lose all your outer 2 towers, especially against a hero like Lone Druid who can push the base with the best of them, kind of right up there with Tiny, especially the more farm the bear gets, it's pretty dangerous, man. You're giving so much gold away. I mean, you can look at the towers right now and say, well, yeah, they're only 1 tower ahead, but in reality, the amount of map control that EG has right now is far more than Complexity, and you can tell just by the style that Complexity's adapting to right here. They're just kind of sitting all together mid, waiting for EG to do something before they try to do anything of their own. And we're going to see a Sunstrike go off here. Doesn't hit anybody. As Sand King is kind of sitting over here. He does throw out a Burrow Strike onto Fluff and stuff. Is he going to get caught out? He does get hexed. There's a Laser and Tinker Rocket, but they're going to go ahead and fall back here as the rest of Complexity is shortly behind Fluff. So they will be able to keep him alive right here for the moment. This tower hasn't really taken any damage yet. He's going to send in the bear, though. Does the Battle Cry as well to do some more damage. And really only 2 hits, and that tower was taking quite a bit of harassment. This Complexity's still just kind of sitting here. Although EG is too, I guess, at the same time. And eventually, they're just going to have to try to engage. Oh, Blank Burrow Strike hits 3 right there. BKB popped by the Sand King, but he gets tossed. You can still be tossed during BKB, so he doesn't get his Epi off. And now Demon's going to be forced out of the fight here. Freeze on the bear. There's a Hex on the Fear as well, but he does have that Aegis. Ravage manages to catch 3, and that is 2 down, but Lone Druid will be up here in just a second. Melk does manage to get his ultimate off on 2. They're going to go on Fluff right here. There's the Hex and Laser as well. March of the Machines being popped as well. Fear stuck in the middle of the entire enemy team, and he is not going to be able to get out of here. He drops twice. Big turnaround from Complexity, and I gotta say, man, that toss by TC was insane. Perfect timing.
Was clutch.
If that epicenter went off, that fight would have had a completely different feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Really gotta hand it to TC for that team fight win right there, and they managed to completely cut off Fear from the rest of his team, and there was really nothing the Venomancer could do. I mean, he threw out a Gale and ulted, and he was like, well, if I go in to try to help you, I'm dead too anyway, so doesn't really matter, and it looks like Complexity's going to be able to get a Roche out of this. Really well done. Oh, actually, Lone Druid bought back. Alacrity used on TC. It looks like they're going to have to be forced out here. We can see Lone Druid TPing to the tier 2 on the bottom lane, going to make his way over. And buying back's not something that you want to have to do, especially in this situation, but we got to have better initiations by the Sand King, I guess. That was a little bit unexpected. As soon as I saw that triple Burrow Strike, I was like, oh man, Complexity is in so much trouble. But TC manages to turn it around. 13-15 right now, 38 minutes into the game. For those of you guys who are just tuning in, my name is Draskyl. Joining me is Snoopy of Absolute Legends. Once again, thanks so much for being here. For Snoopy especially, and the viewers as well. Love you guys. And the Roche is actually going to be taken here by EG. I'm a little bit shocked at this. We see a Hex going off, but it's not really going to do too much. And Lone Druid once again gets an Aegis, so round 2, man. You think they can do it again? Think they can defend against an Aegis Lone Druid twice in a row?
I don't know, maybe, maybe not.
And Bubble looks like he's trying to go for the Infinite Lockdown right here. And he is not going to be able to do it. Actually misses his Force Staff. Oh, perfect timing, though, on the Burrow Strike right in the middle of the Sprout. Now Fluff is in trouble here. Another Hex is used. Bubble running quite low on mana. The Soul Catcher does go off. Mech is popped, but it's not going to be enough. Fluff will go down there to the Demonic Purge. Oh, no, actually, Venomancer got the kill. I heard the Purge go off, but didn't really do any damage, I guess. Or at the very least, didn't get in the kill. So that is a kill for EG. As Furion is not going to be alive for another minute. He does have buyback, though. So he can be able to defend if he needs to. Don't think it's going to be necessary. TC also has his Assault Cuirass up, and he is going for the BKB now. As we can see, the Radiance Bear chasing down 3 heroes from Complexity. They're all running away from just a Lone Druid. I gotta say, man, this game is really close. I mean, I was still shocked at that defense, but nonetheless, a lot closer than I think some people thought it would be. I mean, some people probably would favor Complexity going into this. Recently, they've been doing very well. But overall, I think that EG being undefeated, especially in this tournament, has to be pretty important going into it momentum-wise.
Yeah, and psychologically as well.
Yeah, 8-0 I think they are right now, which is pretty insane. Complexity is doing very well too, though. I mean, I think they've only dropped 2 games.
They're 3, I believe.
Oh,
I think they're 5-3. They're in 3rd position.
Well,
below bottom, wasn't it? When I last checked, I don't know if
I think it was
you
like
guys
EG,
played any
Quantic,
format.
bottom, and then Complexity. I think that was like the standings.
Yep. I think that was it.
but looking to move one step up here by taking out EG. Can they do it? I mean, dire side advantage has to come into effect here a little bit, but at the same time, you can definitely still pick people off. I know Complexity has it in to do the quote-unquote Complexity smoke gank and just manage to get a kill. Feasibly a Roshan as well. Nature's Prophet has an ultimate orb picked up here, and it looks like a lot of people on Complexity just don't like finishing their boots. Fluff and Jo don't have any boots, and actually the CM manages to finish him. Oh, Malk's in a bit of trouble here. Wow, he just died really fast. Was not expecting that. We're going to see the Courier get picked off as well. So Milk and the Courier going down for Complexity. I didn't even get a chance to say what was happening right there. That's how fast Milk died. And it looks like Complexity wants to try to push this tier 2 mid. I think they can do it. They definitely have Ravage. Sand King is not in position quite yet, so they can get a little bit of damage done to the tower. Alacrity is popped. Pipe as well. They're going to go ahead and walk right into it. Is Demon going to choose to go in on this? We can see another March being used. The Glyph was already popped as well. Necronomicon minion's going to spot out Demon here to the side. This could be a little bit of a mistake. He does get a double Burrow Strike off, but now he's in a lot of trouble. Ravage will hit him as well, and Sand King goes down right away. This is definitely not a great fight for EG at this point, as Shadow Demon drops as well. Venomancer still dead at this point. Bear stuck in his Sprout with IX Mike, although it can't attack at this particular point in time. Gets frozen in place, and gets minus armor as well from the Medallion. And now we're going to see Fear get caught out once again. This is a 3v1. He does have an Aegis, but he has no team to back him up. The Sprout's going to be used as well. And the Bear does stay alive. Oh, TP coming back in from Tinker. Can they manage to get Hannah with the Bear? He does force staff himself up the hill, get the rocket combination off. Nice hex on a Jo as well. That's going to be a double kill for Tinker. TC comes back in. Can he get the auto attacks off? The stun misses. Beautiful force staff from Bulba. And now TC is going to be forced to try to TP out here. Can he get the entangle? First hit entangle. Nope, not going to happen. So they do manage to pick up the Aegis. Tiny finishes his BKB shortly after the teamfight ends. And wow, that was another really interesting initiation by Demon Man. I don't know, like, it really felt like they could have waited on that, but I guess forcing it was kind of okay in some ways. I mean, they did get some kills. Fear lost his Aegis, but he got a lot of gold from that. Right now he's sitting at 5, 2, and 6. Tinker TP was perfectly done, by the way. Forced stabs himself up to the high ground, manages to get the Hex off on the Tinker. And picks off the Tidehunter as well. So I guess that was pretty much a wash of a team fight. Although Complexity did get a tower, so they might have come out slightly ahead. As we can see, the gold and experience actually, yeah. Gold goes right back up to even.
I think that was like kind of an even trade, but I don't know. Things could turn still. They do have a Tiny, so...
Yeah,
if that went more favorable, if that went more favorable for them, you know things are gonna go down in the base.
Yeah, that's the one thing they're really scared about too, and I think that's part of the reason why they played that so aggressively. They're just like, they don't want to give Complexity an opportunity to get that Tiny like any more items, because at the point he's at right now, he's got AC, Ags, BKB, and Drum. That's all he needs to kill your base. I mean, he doesn't need anything other than that. The BKB is pretty much just for team fights, because, I mean, obviously you have to win a team fight to push the base, but I really think that the Tiny is going to be the factor right now. As we're going to see a Necronomicon popped here onto Sand King. He's going to get caught out by a Sprout, but Burrow strikes himself out of the way. Took quite a bit of damage there, though. Forge Spirit's going to be coming in here a little bit late. As IX Mike is sitting up here trying to do, I guess, warding. Or counter warding. He does throw it down in vision, so I'm sure EG is going to spot that out. But only 16 to 19, a pretty slow-paced game, I would say, but very methodical. Both teams know exactly what they want to try to accomplish. And as the game goes later and later, it's just going to be down to who wins that one big engagement. There's really nothing else that can be said. And with the Pipe also on the Tide, we saw it last team fight as well. And Tiny and the BKB, I think the Invoker has a BKB as well. So the Epicenter is not going to be nearly as effective as earlier in the game. So we can see Lone Druid picking up a Maelstrom of all items. That's a little bit strange to me. I mean, instead of going for more of a survivability-oriented build, he just wants pure attack speed, I guess, to try to get as many roots and on-hit effects as he possibly can get. And that's definitely a good way to go about it, the extra attack speed from the Maelstrom. And not only that, but the Mjolnir as well. Definitely help him towards that goal. And Complexity wants to smoke up here, so they got the 4-man smoke. Or is this a 5-man? No, it is a 5-man.
5-man.
Yep. Here's the Complexity smoke. I mean, this is what they're known for. Can they make it happen?
Alright, 2 teams are smoked up now.
This has got to be some kind of troll. They both smoke at the exact same time. I know they're not stream cheating, because this is a little bit delayed. I'm not going to say how
But this
long.
is always happens every game when two teams smokes. You know, they always go the opposite direction.
And I'm not really sure who that is or why he talked.
Yeah, who the fuck is Bumblebee?
Well then. Well, that kind of ruins the smoke gang for both teams, so I guess I'm going to have to have it so both teams aren't allowed to invite people in, because this is what happens when I let things slide.
NEODota.
NEODota, man. Super professional. We're always excited to have ghosting like that happen by somebody in the game. Kind of gives things away there a bit. A little bit comical, but at the same time, a little bit unfortunate. I guess the only thing you can take solace in is the fact that both teams were in each other's jungles at that point, so there was pretty much no way anything was going to happen. Deafening Blast going to be used. Already going on the bear here. Want to kill the bear as soon as possible, as he is extremely stacked. He's got that actual additional Hyperstone on top of his Maelstrom, so getting very close to that Mjolnir. And I think they're just going to go ahead and lightning the bear and just send him into the base over and over again. And EG looks like they want to try to fall back here, so they're not going to push. Alacrity once again popped on Tiny, but no pressure really being applied. Everybody from EG is just kind of sitting in the back. Sand King does have the level 3 Epicenter once again. He does have a Scepter up as well. And picking up a Scepter, that's got to be basically for him more survivability than it is about damage, because I'm pretty sure that Veil is more damage. So maybe he just wants to be able to get in and out of team fights. As we've seen the last couple of times, I mean, he goes in and just gets flattened, basically. I mean, there's just nothing he can really do. Even with the amount of health that he has, he just gets completely cut out by the Necronomicon book. Okay, we're going to have to... There we go. Hopefully we don't see any more out of him. That would definitely be ideal. So, Forge Spirit's farming away on this bottom lane, and we could see another Roche relatively soon. I think it's about, what, a minute and a half or so? I don't know exactly what intervals that clock is set at.
Just a minute. Every sign, or whatever you call it, is like a minute.
Okay. Because I know before it was like halfway through one, and then I thought it was like 30 seconds, but it turned out to be like instantaneous that the thing respawned.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the complexity is going to want to try to stop that. I mean, an Aegis gets more potent as time goes on. Obviously, not only that, but the addition of the cheese. So the next couple of team fights are going to be really important for complexity. If they manage to win one of them and either get a Roche or at the very least prevent EG from getting Roche, that's going to be the best case scenario for them. I don't really think that they can allow Fear to get another Aegis. I mean, that's just too much to deal with. The bear has his Mjolnir finished now. Haven't gone over Tinker's items in a while, but he does have that Shiva's along with a Hex, Force Staff, and Blink, so he has gone like full mobility, get yourself in and out of team fights as much as you possibly can, and try to pick off people. That's kind of what he's decided to go with. We're going to see a Fortify here on the tier 2 bottom tower, TC kind of smacking away at it. And 2 hits is all she wrote. Extra 500 gold for complexity right now, and Roshan is up. We do see a ping on it. I believe that was Demon who pinged it, but who is going to go for it, man? Do you think either team can really Roche at this point? Or even go for it? Well, actually, after a smoke gank, they could. See if they can manage to pick anybody off, but the rest of EG is playing pretty passive right here. If anybody's going to get taken out, it's probably going to be Melk. He's kind of wide in the open right here. Looks like Complexity does not want to go for it. They have to know that Sand King's still top. He's actually in the high ground, though. Maybe he's waiting to see if they're going to commit to a fight before he shows himself. That's actually a pretty smart idea. Kind of makes Complexity
They can drop
think
Rosh
twice.
in, like, just say 5 seconds. If
They
Alacrity
definitely
goes
can,
on.
but see, this is the thing. They have no wards. Like, they can't see where anybody is, so they're just going to get back. They're actually going to go on the Sand King up here. He's going to get hexed in place. There's an Economicon popped as well. Auto attacks with the Cold Snap, and Invoker picks up the kill. So Demon getting a bit caught out there. How did they know he was there? He was sitting on the high ground the whole time. Was that just a random luck TP?
No idea.
Because you saw that, right? Like, he was sitting waiting for what Complexity was going to do before he decided to push or not. And I guess EG is going to go ahead and take that as we can Roche now. Actually, no, they're not. I guess Fear is sending his bear to the opposite side of the map to farm with Radiance. Or he's just going to summon it back to himself. So I don't really know what's going on at this point, is the summary. However, Invoker does have a Blink Dagger of his own. Another 1,000 gold saved up. So both him and Tinker favoring the mobile builds. Although this is pretty standard from an Invoker, especially the X-Sword Invoker. TC does have his Crystallis now, too. He's actually really close to Daedalus. He's got enough for his Demon Edge right now. All he needs to do is pick it up and get that recipe, and he'll be able to kill Roshan very fast. Oh man, there's the alacrity. And like you were saying, man, he just drops it so freaking fast. His middle lane looks like Ike's Mike's going to get picked off here. Sacrificing himself for the team. Sandking buys back. They know that they're probably around Roche at some point. BKB pop by Jo. Nice disruption, though, onto Malk, but he might still be in trouble here. Tinker manages to pick somebody off in the very back. It was Crystal Maiden, and Malk's going to be able to get away from this. And now a bear gets a nice root onto Fluff and stuff. He's in a lot of trouble now. Ravage forced to be used right there. Hannah's going to have to retreat, though. People just taking way too much damage from the Radiance burn. And just look at how much damage he's taking just from Radiance and the Soul Catcher. Stun off onto Fluff as well, as Hannah is going to fall on the left-hand side. Tide goes down. Fluff going to be able to get his TP off somehow. And now Jo trying to retreat, but I don't think it's going to work. He gets rooted right after the Force Staff and the Hex coming out from the Tinker. And this is not the kind of team fight that Complexity wanted to take. I mean, TC did get Roche in the Aegis, but man, that has got to be troublesome. Having an Aegis is one thing, but 2v5?
I think they might get a double Rex here, even if TC has the Aegis. Because they know Tide Ravage is down, and they kind of try to force buyback. Probably out of the Invoker, if possible.
Well, the Invoker doesn't have money for a buyback at this point.
We know that he doesn't, but
yeah.
They don't. So.
Well, Tide's going to go back in, immediately get hexed, though, and now he's stuck in his own team Sprout. He gets burrow struck as well. Now he's in a lot of trouble. However, much damage being done to the Sank. He needs to be forced out of the base, as TC is just running around here with a giant tree in his hand, kind of figuring out what he wants to try to do. And it looks like Complexity is going to somehow manage to defend this. That TP from Tide was really strange. He managed to soak up enough damage, I guess, but nope, I guess we're not going to see a defense here. Tinker's going to just port right back to the bear. Now he's at full HP and mana again, throwing out the March of the Machines. The Plague Wards are down, and I guess this is kind of like the never-ending push. The Tinker can just come back in whenever he wants, and ED's going to fall back after a tower. Perfect timing, too, because Invoker just got up. Oh, they're going to catch out Sand King in the back. There's a Gale onto Fluff and stuff, and they want to try to fight this Force Staff out. He actually gets double forced, and now it looks like Sand King might be able to come back in here. He does have Epicenter, but off to the top, we can see the bear getting chased off as well. And a wicked 6-streak for Tinker, killing the Crystal Maiden once again. Oh, nice tornado, though, onto Bulba. He's in so much trouble now, canceling the TP. Cold Snap was used as well. And trading a Tinker for a Crystal Maiden, probably not the best choice. And Complexity pushes EG out finally after that tower goes down. A nice TP by Fluff, though, right onto the high ground. And he manages to get, a kill on Tinker, but they were going for Sand King at the very beginning. Also interesting to note that Nature's Prophet picks up a Crystallis of his own. So they're going for, like, purely right-click at this point. Complexity rushing down mid here. Tinker can buy back, I believe. No, he can't, actually.
Can't.
He needs 300 more gold. Wow, he's level 23. Oh, Burrow Strike, Epi right in the middle of TC. But he does have that Aegis, though. Doesn't even pop his BKB. It's going to be off cooldown for when he reses, and this could be a big problem. However, Fear will get a kill on the Tidehunter, and now TC doing quite a bit of damage himself. There's the stun, but the BKB was still active on Fear. Now Fear going to be forced back. TC just beating down that bear. 1100 damage crit, and now Sand King might be in a bit of trouble. The disruption was a tiny bit late there, but however, negating the Hex used by Jo. Now Jo with the BKB going to try to retreat here. Nature's Prophet Ultimate doing quite a bit of damage to Milk. It's just Force Staffs and Blinks freaking everywhere, man. It's so hard to tell what's going on at this point. Everyone's getting forced, everyone's blinking, everyone's getting hexed. I don't know what's going on anymore. It's like watching a WTF game at this point.
I gotta say, this is good defense from both teams. Like,
yeah,
most teams would have crumbled in those type of situations.
Yeah, when they needed Demon right there, he came in big. I mean, that was a really nice play there, getting the Burrow Epi off, managing to take out TC, and Fear got the kill on Tide as well, and that was enough to force them back, especially considering Tide's Ravage was coming off cooldown during that team fight as well. So, well done by both sides, but game still only 18 to 24. I mean, it's almost 55 minutes in. It really doesn't feel like that long of a game, because we've always been talking about like the strategy behind all the decisions that each team is making, but I mean, it's pretty low kill game, I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
And what is Fear going to buy next? He does have that BKB, and he attacks quite fast right now. Bear still has the Radiance and the Orb of Venom. Face Boots on himself and a Cloak, so might be looking to finish a hood of some sort, maybe. Does anybody have
the lads? Maybe the lads, I don't know. Just for the bear and himself. I don't know. Maybe Scotty, tank up more HP.
Well, buying a pipe at this point wouldn't be too bad considering nobody on EG has it. I mean, you still have to take into
You
account
don't.
Ravage and
You
such.
don't really need the. I think he needs either more HP at this point.
Yeah, by the way, I think Venomance is going for a Halberd, which would be definitely a great choice. Especially for heroes like Tiny, or even the Furion at this point. I mean, Furion has a Dallas, a Hex, and Necronomicon. I mean, Necronomicon doesn't add a tremendous amount of damage, but it is something. And he can still crit you pretty darn hard. Especially with the combination of the Assault Cuirass and the minus armor from Forged Spirits as well. So, I definitely like the items from both teams. And like you said, they're defending quite well, so we'll have to see who's going to take it, man. I still got to give a slight edge to Complexity, though, because if they win just one team fight, I mean, even against a Lone Druid who can push pretty fast on his own. By the way, I think that Fear is going to be going for Satanic, which would be an interesting choice, but...
Yeah. I hope he doesn't get caught within the next couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I thought he'll be saving for buyback at least after the last thing that Bulba did. It could have caused a lot of big problems.
Yeah, he kind of went all in on the CM and then kind of just died. I was like, well, that was interesting. But nonetheless, no one really going to be crossing the river for a while, it looks like. Complexity's still kind of farming on their side of the map. 3,400 gold on Tiny, by the way. And what are you thinking about him? I mean, what should he get at this point?
Who?
Tiny?
Tiny? I think they're just all going to save for buyback. See who has more buybacks and pretty much come to a situation where maybe it's 4v5 or 3v4 and it's more favorable for them.
Right. Well, he did pick up a Talisman of Evasion, by the way, so at the very least he's going to be going for a Halberd or a Butterfly. I'm kind of leaning towards Butterfly, though. I think the attack speed and the evasion and plus armor is probably going to be more beneficial than stopping somebody like Lone Druid from auto-attacking, but I could be wrong. I mean, either one, definitely viable at this point. We can see EG's kind of grouping up here. Bottom lane looks like they want to try to pick off this Furion. It could definitely happen, but the rest of Complexity's here on the side. We could be seeing a big engagement, possibly the last one of the game, if Complexity decides to stay. And I don't believe that they are. They're just going to go ahead and choose to get back. Another ultimate over picked up on Tinker, by the way. So he's probably going for Manta, I would assume. I don't think he's going for Scotty. Yeah, or Lincoln's, that's a good point. But what would a Lincoln's really do for him here, aside from the Furion ult and, like, Cold Snap? I mean, it
More
stops
mana.
fighting Gush, too.
More mana regen.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do see him always constantly having to go back to the base, though. Pesky rearm costing 350 mana at level 3. As we are going to have a pause. And this is actually one of the longer games that I think I've casted in this tournament. That just goes to show how evenly matched both these teams are. Doing a pretty good job, as Complexity says, don't unpause. And once again, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us for this cast. Once again, my name is Draskyl. Joining me is Snoopy from Absolute Legends. We're watching Complexity versus Evil Geniuses. This is the Prodota 2 American Bracket Round 2. Going to find out today if EG continues to be on their undefeated streak. If they win this game, that makes them 9-0 in their group. And a pretty heavily favorited team to go into the playoffs against some of the other best teams in the world. But I'm pretty excited for the rest of the tournament, man. I mean, we have had a little issues scheduling games, at least in the North American side. I know the Europeans and the Asian scene got their games all out of the way. So props to them. They're actually just waiting on us. So go America. But for the most part, I'm looking forward to it, man. I think that this is kind of the format that most tournaments should adopt eventually, because they're basically looking for the best representation of each region to go on. And that's kind of the same format as the international, except for them, it's more of like an invitational, and then you have 2 qualifiers. So I think any tournament where you have a significant prize pool, qualifiers are probably always going to be the best way to go, just to make sure you have the best matches. But at the same time, I guess you also have to keep in mind that you want to represent all areas, not just like the best of the best teams. So I guess I can understand it from both sides. As we are going to be waiting here for the unpause, not really sure what's going on. Apparently Complexity is ready. Not sure if EG is all back here as of yet. And Sand King picked up a Vitality booster, by the way, so I believe he is going to be going for a heart, just to be the unkillable Sand King. I mean, for him, that's probably the best bet. As many Burrow Strikes as you can get off, the better, especially the later into the game. Shadow Demon was working his way towards that. They're going for 2 Halberds, man. Shadow Demon has a Sage, and so does Melk. EG's going to have double Halberd for the Tiny. So as soon as the BKB's done, he's just not going to be able to attack anymore, basically. Might as well just go AFK.
And just buy 2 purges and counter it.
Does it actually work? You can purge that?
I believe so. You can purge off Ghost Scepter. I don't see why you can't purge off that.
Yeah, I just think that's
You can purge off Sheep as well.
a weird mechanic. Yeah, I knew about that. I thought it would be kind of strange if you could purge you not having a weapon. I mean, I guess that's the basis of it, but that just seems a little bit strange to me. So EG once again going to fall back here. His complexity is 5-man farming their bottom lane, or I guess 4-man technically. Fury ends up in the woods here, doing some centaurs. And we're going to see another fight at Roche, I guess. In a couple of minutes, he is going to be up again. You can already see pings going off, and everybody's like, well, I guess if we're going to fight, we might as well do it at Roche. And they're kind of both adopting the quote from, I think it was Dundee who said it from Na'Vi. He's like, don't fight unless it's for a reason. I think both teams in this game have kind of taken that to heart. It's like, we are not fighting unless it's for a tower or for Roche. It's pretty much the only contention we've seen so far in this game. Not really too much ganking either, which is a bit surprising. I figured once I saw the bots out on the Tinker, I mean, you have Fury on as well, you would just see a lot of activity, but it's actually the exact opposite this game. So Fear once again does have that Helm of the Dominator. I don't think I've seen a Satanic on a Lone Druid. I mean, in Dota 2, you know? It's just not something you typically see. I do think that Scotty might have been a slightly better choice, just for the extra survivability. I mean, if he pops his Satanic with the BKB in succession, he can obviously always get the lifesteal. There's never going to be a problem there, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult to do.
I think Complexity is going to smoke up before Rosh. They know the timing, so they're going to look for a pick-off and get Rosh instantly, if possible.
Well, they're actually smoked right now, so they're looping around once again. Looking to try to pick somebody off, but EG's movement is just really good here. We can see a Venomancer ward going down into the pit just to make sure that nothing is going down, as Roshan has not quite respawned yet. It's going to be really soon, though.
Picked up here.
Oh, Melk, he's going to get spotted on middle lane. Run, Snake Man! Oh, this is definitely a dead Venomancer. There's no way he can do anything. He does hit 3 people with his ultimate, however, not going to matter too much. Gonna see pings going off towards the Roche pit. It's gonna be up very soon here. And Complexity might just choose to push mid. Okay, so if you're in this position, do you try to push and go for the extra gold and possibly a Rax and then fall back to do Roche because you know that they're not gonna have anybody?
I think they're just gonna pressure and assess the situation, and then I can see him definitely most likely maybe getting a Rax.
They do have Glyph. We're going to see a blink in there, Hex onto Fluff and stuff. The March of the Machines is going off. Oh, actually, that Ravage was not good at all. Really didn't hit anybody, but another blink stun toss combination onto the bear right there. Going to have to be resummoned. And with Ravage down, they're going to have to retreat out of the base. The Rax is quite low, but the rest of Complexity going to have to run, and that was pretty much a waste of time, I would say. Like, now Venomancer is going to be up very soon. The Ravage was not so good, to say the least. I don't know if he, like, didn't force staff himself or what he was trying to accomplish with that. But it basically didn't do much of anything. We're going to see Mech pop up here, and double damage picked up by the Tiny, so they could still potentially kill this fast enough. They're going to see the Courier over here to the side shop. I was wondering if they were going to scout it out, but I guess they're not. They're just going to go ahead and use Tiny with a Medallion on Roche as well.
Oh my god.
Look at how fast he's dying. He's already dead. They can't even get there in time. The Courier, no, the Courier dies as well. 2100 crit just kills Sand King instantly. Now we're going to see TP from Furion coming in. There's the BKB as well, 4 staff away. Sand King has to buy back. You could not have asked for a better situation right there from Complexity, man. They get the Courier, 2132 crit on the Sand King. Like, what the hell?
DD and Medallion and AC.
Oh my goodness, man. I mean, fortunately for Sand King, he still does have his Epi. But TC probably just doesn't even care, man. He can honestly just walk up BKB and just hit the racks and kill it at this point. But that is a lot of March of the Machines, I'm not going to lie. That would be quite a bit of damage. And then they're really going to back up here. They're actually not going to push. I mean, TC's definitely getting close to his Butterfly if he's making it. He has a Talisman Evasion somewhere. I know I saw him pick it up. I think he dropped it for the Aegis right there, but I don't know what happened to his item. So you can see some pings right there. Did anybody else pick it up?
I think it got destroyed.
It might have, yeah, because I know he had one. because we talked about it, and then they went for Roche with the double damage, and then Sand King basically turned into Vapor after one hit, and that was pretty much it. Well, got some Team Ancients going on here. Fear is definitely very farm right now. 458 CS, by the way. It's pretty insane. 7-2 and 8 at this point. Gonna see a smoke up here by EG. However, pretty much all of Complexity is kind of sitting in their base. They know that whoever gets a decent pickoff, and it might even take more than one hero, honestly, especially if you're EG, they might have to kill 2 to be able to safely push into the base, because TC is still very farmed at this point. He has bots now as well. Got rid of his phase boots. And I really think that this might be one of the most tense matches I've ever watched, because it's just down to that one team fight, and the game is really so close that it's going to be down to that one engagement. Gonna see the ice wall popped here, some Nova going off as well, rocket spam as well. Not really sure what EG is going to decide to do here. They could try to push. It is definitely risky though. How often do you see a 64-minute game, by the way, without any racks down? So we're going to see a TPN coming in here from the Furion. Can he manage to hex anybody? No, he can't. Looks like the Bears are a little bit too fast, but Milk runs in and gets the ultimate off on just 2, trying to sacrifice himself. There's a nice blink epi, though, only doing damage to 2 heroes. BKB's popped. Hannah trying to get into better position to ultimate, but there's just so many BKBs right now. As Tinker buys back after dropping right there, there's a Ravage, but it just doesn't, again, really do much of anything. They're going to manage to kill the bear as it was trying to be TP2 by Tinker, so no Tinker for this fight. And they're going to have to try to back up here. Sunstrike goes off as well. Force Staff out of the way, though. A Tinker is here. He managed to get here instead. I guess the bear kill really didn't matter, as Tiny's going to try to fall back here. Aegis will be used up, though, by the Sand King with the Blink Burrow Strike. And now Tiny is going to respawn. But after that buyback, EG really didn't lose too much right there. I mean, they managed to pick off the Sand King. They got a CM out of it, but that was pretty much it. There was a lot of stuff happening. Oh, never mind. Nature's Prophet kills Universe. So they do manage to get 2 right there. And they might catch out Malk as well. Oh, man, he's stuck between the Invoker and the Tide as well. Now he's going to throw out the Alacrity at himself, do some more right-click damage. Force Staff away, though, and the Mech. They're not going to be able to kill him, but it doesn't matter because Tiny is killing their entire base. And that's about 3 hits, give or take, basically, to kill a Rax. So 2 lanes down in the course of what, like 15 seconds? They might even go for 3.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be it. They're just gonna aim the racks. They're gonna ignore, maybe ignore the
They
heroes.
might go for Milk, because Milk is right out there in the front. He actually miscalculated his damage there a bit. Manages to force staff himself away, but yeah, this Sand King is not gonna last long. Can he cleave the creep down in time? Oh, he gets Deafening Blast out of Sandstorm. Are they really not gonna? Oh, there we go. 1 auto attack from Invoker will seal the deal, and that's gonna be Megas, man. So looking at probably a GG coming out here relatively soon. Complexity breaks the undefeated streak for EG, currently makes them 8-1, as Complexity will likely move up a spot or 2 in the standings for the American Pro Dota 2 bracket. We're going to see a buyback, though, and the GGs have not been called, by the way. So EG might still try to fight this out. I don't know if it's going to be, you know, fruitful, but we're going to have to find out. I got to say, though, man, 66-minute game. Pretty long game.
They can definitely defend with the heroes. They might give it one last shot, pull out like a Divine on the bear or something, or Divine on a couple of heroes, go all out.
Well, the problem is now is Tiny's going to have 2 Daedalus, so he's going to be hitting really freaking hard. I mean, he himself probably could have just gone for a Rapier at this point and just tried to go for the throne, but he's not going to go that route. He's going to play it safe, as he buys a fresh BKB as well. He's got another recipe for the Daedalus on the chicken, so he's just going to go wait for that Demon Edge. He has enough money and about 20 or so gold, but he might just want to play it safe and save for buyback, although he doesn't have enough right now, so he'll have to farm a bit more.
He's got 2,300 reliable gold.
Oh, it's all reliable. Okay, I misread that. So he can buy back. I guess that's what happens when you one-shot everybody on the other team. It's all reliable gold. But what do you think EG could have done differently here? I mean, do you think that they could have been the ones to push the pace a little bit more during the mid-game? Because, in all honesty, it seemed like Fear was quite a bit ahead for a long time.
It felt like Complexity was on the back foot, just on the map position. It's just that I think they picked off and defended well when push came to shove, I guess.
Yeah. Complexity
I
does
don't.
have a really good base defense team, though, as well. I mean, Invoker, you have the spam as well from the Crystal Maiden, and then you have Tide Ravage, and you have a Tiny. So they do have a really, really good base defense team. Gotta hand it to them. Their drafting and play this game was very, very good. It was pretty even, pretty much, until, you know, a couple of minutes ago. Is if you look at the gold graph, like, it basically hadn't hovered anywhere over, like, 2,500 to 3,000 gold lead for either team, and then, bam, like, 10 minutes ago, 10,000 gold spike. So Complexity definitely utilizing their team to its full effectiveness. Is TC going to buy a last item before they decide to push in here to the base once again? I don't think so. Milk does have his halberd up. And I believe that Shadow Demon does not. Nope, he does not have enough money. He does have a Gem of True Sight, though. Probably just to do some counter warding. As we can see, the ultimate going off from Furion. Still doing quite a bit of damage to the supports. Furion also going full carry, basically, outside of the Necronomicon. He went for an MKB on top of his Daedalus. So they just want to be able to right-click, and right-click really freaking hard, I guess. And I gotta say, like, if you think about it, building heroes like that, like even Invoker in some cases and the Tiny, it seems like going for more of the physical damage builds work out better if you can manage to hold off in the early game. Because obviously Hex is always going to be core. Getting Force Staff is pretty much always going to be core. But after that, some people favor going items like the Aghanims, which makes it so you can get your Invoke to a lower cooldown, doesn't cost mana. And he doesn't even have it. Like, Jo doesn't have an Aghs, and it's 69 minutes into the game, and they're winning. So
Yeah.
I think that the...
That's a bit unusual, though.
Yeah, it is a bit
having-
strange. It is definitely strange, but he needed the BKB for sure. I mean, the Hex was definitely a great addition to his items. I just like the fact that we're seeing stuff that's not quite as common. I mean, typically when you see Furion, it's either like Mech and then Medallion Urn and stuff like that, and then you just go for anything that can help you push. Even a Mantis sometimes, but Nature's Prophet this game just goes pretty much purely right-click. He has BKB, Daedalus, MKB, Hex, and a Necronomicon. Necro's pretty much the only thing that could be construed as not just pure damage output, and honestly it is, for the cost, probably one of the highest DPS items in the game. So I think the Complexity is done excellent this game, and we're just going to wait for them to try to seal the deal. They're playing it really safe though, man. Like, this is almost safe to the point of being obnoxious. I mean, the other team is getting attacked by mega creeps. Their creeps have almost as much health as the Venomancer.
Fear went. I thought it was gonna go Divine, but he chose MKB.
I mean, he still does do a crap load of damage. He's got an insane amount of attack speed, and now with the MKB proc as well, along with the Mjolnir, I mean, that's going to be really scary to deal with. If they do an awkward engagement, if Complexity doesn't have buybacks, they're going to be in some trouble here. But like you were saying earlier, TC does have the buyback. Jo does have a buyback as well, so he will be able to buy himself back into the game. Does anyone not have a buyback? I'm pretty sure
CM.
everyone does.
Just a CM.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're Complexity, why not just go for it, you know? I mean, you can wait out Roche. I mean, it's going to be up in a second anyway. But at some point, you know? These are probably the most patient players I've ever seen. Just going to chill here. Going to wait it out. Got the shark helmet, got the giant mace anchor ball thing. I'm not even sure what that is. And a bone club. Snoopy, I want that hat. Look at how cool
Which
that
hat?
looks. The shark hat.
Chuck.
Well, Tide's one of my favorite heroes, just because he can do so many different things. I think the only items I ever get, by the way, are the ones where you get like the common like bracer slot, which is like the least noticeable. I never get weapons, I never get like helmets or anything like that. I get boxes and bracers. Makes me very upset. As we can see, Tiny going to pick up that Aghanim Scepter. Got rid of one of his Crystallis to give him the immortality. And I'm assuming they're going to keep the chicken somewhere nearby. Oh, guess not. Because he's going to send it back to the base.
What did you just say there, dude?
What?
What did you just say there?
I said he picked up the Aegis instead of keeping the
You said
Crystallis. What did I say? I don't even know what I said.
You said Aghanim Scepter for some reason.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I meant...
I started tripping out, man, what we were trying to say.
I think we're both tripping out, man. This game's just so long, 72 minutes.
Man, it's 7:30 for me. It's like the afternoon.
Well, Fear's going to get caught out here in the front. Nice disruption, though. This is going to be the last fight of the game, pretty much for sure. Fear does get his BKB off, uses a Mjolnir on himself, but it's probably not going to be enough. TC kind of just tunnel visioning him through the base right now. Blink Epicenter goes off, manages to only do damage to 2 heroes, Tide and the Invoker as well, but the Hex goes off on a Sand King. Going to force staff himself out of there. Probably going to be going down. Actually, no, he doesn't die, but the rest of Complexity is still pretty much sitting in the base. Not really too much damage done to the Tide at all. I think he might have had the cheese right there. Alacrity popped on TC. He's actually going to run out of tower range for whatever reason, I guess, and go attack creeps. But a couple more hits should be all she wrote for these towers, and I got to think that GG's going to be coming out here shortly. Fear apparently does not have buyback. Only 500 gold after buying that MKB. Another blink stun. They're trying to valiantly defend the throne right here. This is basically defensive of the Ancients, as you can see. It's getting auto-attacked down by the tree branch, and that's going to be it. GG's come out from EG. Really well played by Complexity. EG now with 1 loss. Their undefeated streak is over in Prodota2's American bracket tournament. 27-27, 72-minute game. Holy crap. Well, I gotta say, Tiny once again proving that he can be a late game carry. I mean, even when Fear got caught out there, we saw how fast he was going down to the Tiny. Just 2 auto attacks, basically. Got like 1 crit, I think, or something. And Fear basically had to get out of the team fight. So, really well done by Complexity. You got any final thoughts before we get out of here, man?
Not really. It was a good game to watch. Yes.
It definitely was a good game. A very long game. And maybe a little bit slower pace than some people would have liked. But nonetheless, Complexity takes out EG. I want to thank you guys so much again for joining us. My name is Draskyl. Joining me for today with Snoopy of Absolute Legends. And we are going to go ahead and get out of here. But if you guys like the channel, feel free to follow. Follow me at Draskyl as well on Twitter. I will be better about updating that, I promise. I know I always say that, but I'm just really not used to doing it. So hopefully people will bug me and remind me to do it when I'm casting games. We will try to get the schedules up as soon as we can, but a lot of these games are on short notice. We're basically playing in whenever the team can play, and oftentimes that means me not even knowing about the game until about an hour before it starts. So I will be bringing you the rest of these games, though, if I can. Hopefully Snoopy will be with me sometimes for those of you not playing another game. But once again, we are going to get out of here. So thank you guys again so much for watching, and we will see you again soon.